Yesterday it rained in Islamabad. It had been unbearably hot for weeks, the kind of heat that settles into your skin and refuses to leave. And then suddenly it rained. Islamabad has always been a little different that way. It never stays unbearably hot for very long. The rain comes, the wind changes, and the whole city seems to breathe again. But yesterday's rain felt very different. It felt familiar, the sound, the way it landed on my skin, sharp but not painful, confident but comforting. It wasn't a gentle drizzle, it arrived with purpose, almost like an old friend saying, "I'm here." Maybe it was the little storm that came before it, or maybe it was just me feeling nostalgic, because yesterday's rain didn't just remind me of another season, it reminded me of another life. Before Islamabad became the concrete jungle it is slowly becoming today. I know I'm going to sound like every other 90s kid telling you life was different back then, but hear me out. Maybe this story isn't really about Islamabad. Maybe it's about Murree, maybe it's about my childhood. I grew up in a huge rambling house high in the Murree Hills, almost at the top of the Malkai Kohsar, the queen of the mountains. The house sat at the foot of 3 rolling hills that belonged to our land. Every room opened onto wide balconies that looked across mountain after mountain after mountain. There seemed to be no end to them, just forests, real forests. Towering trees that whispered when the wind passed through them, mist weaving its way between branches, leaves swaying gently, birds everywhere. The sun playing hide and seek through the canopy. Even the silence felt alive. Looking back now, I sometimes wonder if growing up surrounded by endless horizons quietly expanded our own. Every summer evening, my brothers, my sister and I would drag a blanket onto one of those balconies. One blanket, a kettle of chai, and a bowl of peanuts. 4 children were nowhere else in the world they wanted to be. We laughed until our stomachs hurt about things that probably weren't funny at all. Sometimes we'd take our little laser pointers and aim them into the trees, watching sleepy birds hop from branch to branch. Sometimes we'd follow the cars winding slowly up the mountain roads, and sometimes late at night wild dogs and every now and then even wolves would wander into the gardens. Safe on the balcony, we'd shine those tiny red dots near them and watch them try to catch the light. We thought it was the greatest entertainment imaginable. And then there was the rain. Almost every house in Murree has a tin roof. So when it rained, it didn't just make a sound. It became the soundtrack of our childhood. Night after night, we'd fall asleep listening to that steady pitter-patter on the roof above us. We slept with the curtains open because there was no one to look in. From our beds, we could actually watch lightning dancing across distant mountains. Thunder never frightened us. It fascinated us. Morning always arrived wrapped in a crisp mountain air. Everything smelled clean, fresh, alive. Sometimes there'd be rainbows stretching across the valleys. Sometimes the mist would still be hanging between the trees. It felt as though the whole world had washed itself while we slept. And whenever the electricity went out during a storm, as it almost always does, we never rushed for it to come back. There was nowhere else we needed to be. No Netflix waiting, no Instagram to check, no WhatsApp notifications demanding our attention. We lit candles, one in every room. Sometimes we'd read. Sometimes we'd play Ludo. Sometimes we'd simply listen to the rain until we fell asleep. Life didn't stop. It simply slowed down. And then there was an apple tree that grew the sourest, most delicious apples I've ever tasted. We never waited for them to ripen. We'd climb the tree carrying a knife and a little bowl of sugar. We'd slice the apples right there on the branches, dip them into sugar, and eat them anyway. Even when the rain started pouring and all 4 of us were stranded in that tree, none of us wanted to come down. We had apples, we had rain, we had butterflies and caterpillars, we had stories, we had each other. And somehow that was enough. And yesterday's rain brought all of it rushing back. And it left me wondering, will the children growing up in our cities ever know this kind of childhood? When did nature become something we have to schedule? Why do we have to take children to a park instead of simply sending them outside? Will they ever know what it feels like to walk barefoot on rain-soaked grass? Will thunder become just another sound they hear through a closed window? Will they ever fall asleep listening to rain on a tin leaf? Will they wake up to that cold mountain air after a storm? Will they know the smell of rain before it touches the earth? Or has that scent disappeared beneath concrete too? I don't know. What I do know is this. Yesterday, just for a little while, the rain gave me my childhood back. And for a few beautiful moments, I was home again.